and the illustrious owner of Main Street Books. Yeah, so I will open with a poem that is in the Autoliths magazine, not magazine, this is a literary book. It's called, the only French word I can say is my name. Thank you, Mother. So I think it is pronounced enfants terribles or something of the sort. Did you hear my mother titter? Okay, here goes. There are copperheads in the garden, little saints waiting to deliver me of unbiased opinion. They are the unspoken resentment of my neighbor. I think of them late at night, waiting to crawl into me and settling like noxious bubbas. My small coils of no, my tender creeps. The big one, saucy and all apaxial, sat in my lap as the moon streamed up, and we both cried snaky tears. I held his trembling length, opaline as a prepuce divine. We both sorry for the bites we did, and do, and will do. In the mornings the color of hot melancholy, I wrap my copperheads around my wrists, my waist, the little ones loop my ankles. Saturn-like, their mechanism of formation, nobody's damn business. Women and their serpents, Angitia, Medusa, Eve, Lamia, Lilith, the leathery white of half-cracked shells in lieu of something pink and mammalian, umbilically swinging. My slithery litter, we host hissing competitions and swallow furry things whole. We on our stomachs in the grass, floating with sunshine. I am yellowing with venom, close enough to God gold. Thank you. He threw coffee beans at me earlier, so that was a well-deserved whoop. The set list is over there.
Gordon Smith?
Gordon, yeah!
Gordon Smith, everyone.
Maybe I'll stay close so I can
Yeah.
I'll crouch.
No,
Not in front of this though.
I'm gonna sit down because I'm an old man and I'm gonna screw everything up. So. Sit first. Adjust second. How is this? Can everyone hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Great. All right. This is an excerpt from The Orphan House, which is a novel I'm writing set in the early 50s. And let me give you a little bit of a setup on this. Jake McAllister is a 10-year-old Charleston, South Carolina boy who is sent to the orphan house, an orphanage, after his parents die in a house fire. There, he is tormented by the psychotic son of Dr. Bone, the orphanage administrator. Jake is so traumatized that he develops an alternate personality, Max, who becomes his protector. Jake's only other friend in the orphanage is his hall supervisor, Miss Taylor. Dr. Bone's son, Bobby Ray, sets fire to the orphanage. The fire department extinguishes the fire, but in an inquest into this cause, into the cause is called. Dr. Bone plans to pin the arson on Jake. We come in on day 2 of the inquest when Jake is to testify before the supervisory board. The narrator of the story is Max, Jake's alternate personality. The chairman turned to the fire marshal. We heard your testimony yesterday. Have you found new evidence, perhaps? I've debated with myself about submitting this revolting material for some time, whether to present it or not. I'd like to hear what the boy and Miss Taylor have to say first. Then I'll present what I have. Bones stirred and squinted at the fire marshal with renewed suspicion. Bone was no longer a picture of innocence. Very well, let's not keep justice waiting. Young McAllister, one of our board members, Commissioner Rutledge, would like to ask you a few questions. Is that okay? Yes, sir. Hey, Jacob. Or is it just Jake? Just Jake, sir. Time's ticking here. I know you've been through a lot, son, and I'm sorry to hear about your parents. But we need some straight answers so we can clear this mess up and all of us can go home. Do you think you can help us out? Yes, sir. Good, good. Now I need to ask you about the fire at the orphan house. It was a series of set fires, wasn't it? Yes, sir. Who started these fires, Jake? Was it you? Rutledge held Jake's eyes for what seemed like an hour, but it lasted only seconds. He looked for a flicker in Jake's eyes, like the master poker player looks at his opponent's face to detect if he's holding a full house or if he's bluffing. Jake, stiff and erect in his chair, seemed to relax. His manner and muscles in his jaw and face softened. Jake was no longer present. I had emerged. The transformation was subtle, but I never wavered from Rutledge's scrutiny, and I intended to answer his questions fully. Bobby Ray started the fires. Lie! I told you he would lie! Bone exploded from his chair and glared at me. I returned his malevolent stare with an expression of fear and conviction. I wasn't going to stop. The chairman shouted, Dr. Bone, control yourself. Any more outbursts and I personally will have you arrested for disturbing the peace. He's lying, I tell you. Let us be the judge of that, said the chairman. Jake ignored Dr. Bone's interruptions. Please continue, said Rutledge. Bobby Ray lured me down into the storage area under the gym and knocked me out when I walked through the double doors. I woke up tied to a column. I couldn't move. Bone seized, but remained seated. He had stolen Jingles and nailed him to a cross. Now hold up a minute now. Who's Jingles? He's my stuffed monkey. I know I'm too old to carry a stuffed animal, but it was from my house, the one that burned, where I lived with Mom and Dad. Bobby Ray stole it from me the first night when I was in the orphanage. Rutledge didn't smirk like I thought he would, but nodded solemnly for me to carry on. He acted crazy like and said some crazy things. He tried to, but I kicked him. And then he pulled out a can of lighter fluid and a book of matches. Said he was going to burn me and the whole orphanage down. Rutledge asked, well, did he say why? Bobby Ray hated me, but not near as much as he hated his father. How do you know? He said so, and there was something else. Jake, you need to tell us everything. Hold nothing back. Miss Taylor and I went down to the storage area about a week before and saw Dr. Bone doing something to Bobby Ray. Bone leaped across the table at me. His fingers clawed the air, almost grazing my face. You lying little bastard. I'm gonna kill you. Miss Taylor grabbed me and pulled me back as Bone slipped on the polished table trying to get purchased. Several board members leaped to their feet and rushed to tackle the furious and thrashing administrator. I sorely wanted to kick him in the face, but I held back. It wouldn't have looked right. Instead, I yelled and scrambled out of the way like any 10-year-old would when attacked by an adult. Hearing the commotion, men appeared through the double doors. Take 'em, said the chairman. hold him, and someone called the police, instructed Rutledge. That's it. Thank you. I'm sorry. Messed things up.
No, you're good. I think you made it better. That's great. Heather, can you go third? Mm-hmm. Everybody, please welcome Heather.
I don't have my phones up yet.
I'm sorry. I counted myself as one.
Oh, you did? Oh, I was thinking there was somebody else before me. Okay.
Sorry, I'm shoving a mic in your face.
It's okay. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm not used to microphones. Just turn back a little bit. All right, my poems tend to be shorter, so I'm going to be sharing a few of them. The first one's actually one of my longer ones. It's called I Am Woman. I am a woman who does not hold herself back, not even because of you. I explore this world for all it has to offer. I will not accept your counter-offer. To stay where I am, what you have to say, I don't give a damn. I will no longer be held back. I will live a life that makes up for all that you lack. The life you want me to live is in your comfort zone. But the difference between you and me is I have a backbone. Our lives do not align and will no longer combine. For you see, I want my daughter to surpass me and be who she is meant to be. To never be her and me, but to be we, even when we disagree. Because she will be free to express how she envisions the world to be, because she will change the world. Why can't you see that as women we should lift each other up instead of tearing each other down? We build up. Each generation stronger than the last, not holding back, so you are unsurpassed. I am a woman who would lift up even you. Thank you. Let's see. This next one I have is a prose. It's okay, I'm reading multiple ones, isn't it?
Please.
Okay, all right. I faltered over my mistakes. It wasn't a glorious conquering or a stunning victory. I stumbled over them continuously, continuing to make the same mistake over and over again, time and time again. This mistake has molded me into who I am today. This mistake has caused me to climb mountains, mountain after mountain, instead of walking an open path. This mistake is within me. My mistake is neglecting self-love and allowing the negativity inside my mind to flourish while it caused my self-worth to wilt. Now I know my self-worth. Now I see those thoughts in the light of the day. Now I know I am worth fighting for. Now I know I am closer to me and who I am meant to be. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to read two more. This one I kind of read a little fast. Okay. I am to not be seen and not be heard. You have made me invisible and voiceless, make me unimportant and speechless. Put me in the corner in a cage as a flightless bird. Now I have broken the cage and now I sing. The world can see me soaring for all that I am. My words continue to flow like a torn down dam. For you are the one with the broken wing. I will break this cycle that has been creating generation after generation of silencing. Instead of changing the cycle, you stood there idling. It stops here, no longer rotating. Thank you. All right, I got one more, and this one is called To All Poets. Scattered pieces, to poems, to poetry collections, to the books we read that inspire us to lead. Books that empower us to write, that are full of ideas, inspiration, and insight. Poets are sunflowers that rise to the bright light and can droop in the darkness, however we still rise at night. To reach for the page with our ink or graphite, under the moonlight, we write, edit, and recite. Again, we write, edit, and recite again and again. Not looking for perfection, using searchlight for reflection. While facing possible rejection, releasing what is inside while exposing the outside. It's about how honest you are with yourself. Thank you.
So I keep convincing Heather to put together a chapbook of her poetry because I think that'd be a good idea. Up next we have Chad. Chadwick Rains.
Let's see if I can get my mask off without my glasses. There we go. So, hi everybody, Chad Rains. Last time that I did one of these, I brought the mood way down by talking about how once upon a time Lake Norman was super, super dry, and I was worried about the future of history. Turns out, really appropriate for today, but different mood down bringing incoming.
Woo!
The word poetry traces its etymology back to ancient Greece. Poeia, to make. Poets are literally the makers. When I learned about the etymology, I found myself rather taken with it. But I'm not a poet, and this is not a poem. We stand at a precipice. Too often in history class we imagine, what would I have done during that time? How would I have been had I been alive? This is that moment. In a century, people will question how they would have reacted had they been alive during this time of tumult. Assuming, of course, that there is history class being taught in a century's time, fingers crossed. I may not be a poet, but I do contemplate on the role we have been given by the confluence of events. I'm not a maker, but I might be a recorder. In the fiction I write, how should I reflect the times in which we find ourselves? In what ways can my writing be a drop of amber into which a mosquito might be trapped? What duty do I have to record and reflect the difficulties and the struggles of this year? And beyond that, in what ways will my writing be indelibly marked by this year? 5 years down the road, will I still reflect on that time when an undercurrent of constant, oppressive fear clutched my heart? Will this actually change anything about who I am? Were I a poet, perhaps I could channel the pathos of the moment. And then we pause for wind. Instead, I will leave that to the makers and to their maker's mark. I try to focus my thinking on the now. In a way, this year has flown by. That is already the end of August astounds me. My routine was barely disrupted by the shutdown, as I've been working from home for nearly 3 years already. Only that I don't go out to restaurants has really changed. My life is 5 walks of a dog each day, and work in between. Will this year actually change me? Will it leave its mark on me, on my creativity? Will the fiction of the near future be, in lieu of the pastoral elegy, the pandemic elegy? Romeo, Juliet, and the importance of social distancing. Although, to be fair, it would have been harder to bite one's thumb through a mask, so perhaps the instigating quarrel would have been avoided. Alas, we shall never know. It feels to me as though the world is shedding its skin and that we are witnessing the next era's grand revelation. And so I suppose I question whether I will have a role to play at all. But ultimately, I suspect that the future is what we make of it, that our roles will be what we will them to be, and I suspect the poets will still be there, capturing the spirit of a generation in a way that I cannot.
Woo!
That's some sassy mask you got there, too.
That definitely wasn't as depressing as last time. Thank you, Chad.
I'll try better next time.
Yeah, try harder. Everybody, please welcome John Merrick to the stage.
Well, like Gordon, I'm an old man, and I really liked his idea of sitting down, so I think I might do that. Mask off. All right. So here we all are. This is really weird. I think Chad kind of encapsulated a lot of our thinking about how strange the situation has gotten and everything with that. And I started writing this story back around the time this all started, and I just want to read it to you. I'm going to read an excerpt of it to you, and it's going to kind of end on a cliffhanger, but don't worry. I will give the whole thing to MA, and she will put it out on the website, and I'll have it on my personal website if anybody wants. So I'm not going to end this completely. Hanley thumbed the safety and raised the Marlin 22 to his shoulder in one smooth, well-practiced motion. Through the scope, the familiar of the crosshairs, and a subtle shift of his left wrist brought them dead center. He exhaled and gently squeezed the trigger. The rifle cracked in his hands, and 100 yards away, the crow crumpled abruptly to the ground. 9, he said to the cosmos and no one in particular. One more and he would call it a day. He wasn't in the habit of wearing a watch, but he could tell by the golden red slant of the sun that it must be getting close to 8. He promised his mother he'd be home by dark, which gave him maybe 15 minutes more in the field. The farmer who planted this land, Duck Edmondson, paid Hanley $2 for every dead crow. But if the truth were known, he'd probably be out here doing it for free. Summer break entertainment options for a 15-year-old in Dawkins Township came down to riding things and shooting things, and this job combined the two. He had made the 3-mile trek from his house on his dirt bike. By road, Edmondson's farm was more than 10 miles from his house, but through the woods and across the fields he could make it on his dirt bike in half an hour. He called it his dirt bike, but it was really one of those boxy steel frame mini bikes with a lawnmower motor and fat, low-pressure tires he had pieced together from parts bought, salvaged, and traded over the last year. It wasn't a thing of beauty and had a top speed of just 20 miles per hour, but as they say, it beat walking. Crows are smart and wary birds. When he had arrived 3 hours earlier, there had been upwards of 50 of them in the field, but with each successive shot and each fallen brethren, half of the murderer got the idea and took off for less risky environs. By the time he was halfway through the clip, the birds that remained were either stupid or stubborn, there's really no difference, and were being picked off one by one. He counted just 3 now floating in wide circles over the field, and he knew those would alight again in the next 10 minutes. That seemed to be the length of their memory, or maybe their attention span. He reached down and gave the second of the 2 cans of PBR he had pilfered from the basement fridge a shake, and determined there was a swallow, maybe 2 left. It was warm, had been really since he arrived, but there was something about holding a gun and drinking a beer and earning $1 for your trouble that made him feel like the man he was still a few years from becoming. He looked up and saw the 3 crows had been joined by a gull. Hanley thought that odd. Crows don't generally tolerate other birds, and the lake was 30 miles away. You didn't often see a gull this far into the county. He levered the bolt and performed some mental math. By his count, there should be 3 shells left in the clip. That should do. If he missed, he wouldn't have time to wait for the birds to land again anyway, and trying to plink them out of the air at this range was a losing proposition. All he could do was wait for them to land and take his shot. As if on cue, the gull tipped a wing and floated to the ground about 200 yards out, with the crows following close behind. That was at the far edge of the .22's accuracy, and it would be the toughest shot he'd tried all day. He wasn't the least bit interested in the gull, but as he swept the field with the scope, it slid into view, and he saw that it wasn't a gull at all, but rather a snow-white crow with blood eyes and salmon beak. Hanley was a farm boy, and albinism was something he understood, but he had never seen an albino animal in the wild. Their genetic makeup usually included poor eyesight and small size, and they were generally picked on by others of their species, and rarely survived to adulthood. This crow seemed to have beaten the odds. Until today, he thought, as he adjusted his aim and squeezed. A puff of dust arose from the dirt a yard in front and to the right of the bird. At the rifle's report, the other 3 crows flapped a panicked retreat to the sky, but the white bird moved only its head, and Hanley could see its red eyes illuminated to fire by a shaft of fading sunlight. He worked the bolt and squeezed off a second shot. Missing the first shot didn't bother him much, but missing the second, after seeing where the first bullet hit, grated on him. The white crow stood motionless, like stone, its gleaming eyes staring back at him through the scope. He worked the last shell into the chamber, but didn't take the shot. He wasn't sure why, but deep down something told him, save the last one.
What a brilliant cliffhanger you left us on, John.
Sorry, thank you.
Everybody please welcome Main Street Writers'
This is the
beautiful poet, Sue Bartlett.
I'm not sure about beautiful, but definitely the oldest. I'm going to read 2 poems today. The first one is called Midsummer Morning. Even now, even before the sun has had a chance to push aside the mist that hangs like dusty drapes between the magnolias and the live oaks, rubbing the sleep from its eyes, even now the atmosphere is ripe with cicada song, belated matins, call and response, an insect lamentation for a short, hot life. Even now, the tepid breeze brushes remnants of dew from thirsty leaves, last call drinks swept away by a careless bartender. Even now, any vestige of fresh skin is lost, replaced by a sheen of sweat, each bead growing and coalescing with its neighbors, forming trickles, then streams, running down and pooling in the valley formed by breasts encased in the elastic dam of a bra. Even now, the intensity of the blue sky is a weight, a burden to be borne through the endless day. Even now, drying grass crunches underfoot, steps slow to trudges, destinations recede further toward the horizon, impossible to reach. Even now, just mid-morning, the air, thickened by the warm, moist breath of every living thing, becomes a place to swim, to plunge into the heat of the afternoon. So if that doesn't make you miserably uncomfortable, nothing will. This next poem is kind of Seussian in the doctor way. It's called The Back of Me. There is so much wrong with the back of me, so much behind me that I can't see. Start at the top and work your way down. You're smiling now, you'll end with a frown. First thing's the hair. It looks all askew. I couldn't see it, but it's quite clear to you. No comb has been through it, no brush has been passed. It's piled on my head, but you know it won't last. My clothes are all wrinkled. They're fitted all wrong. My pants are too short and my shirt is too long. The heels of my shoes are quite weathered and worn. The laces are dragging, the canvas is torn. So who, you ask sadly, will take up the task to fix this one's looks from the front and the back? Will no one step forward, does no person care, to straighten these clothes and comb out this hair? From my point of view, and it's just my first thought, that a perfect appearance can be borrowed or bought. But worthiness comes from what's deep in one's heart. How we act in the world is what sets us apart. So keep that in mind as you plan my remake. Does it matter at all if my back's a mistake? Since I cannot see it, I really don't mind if all is a mess when I'm seen from behind. If all those approaching see only my smile and know that I'm willing to chat for a while, to give them my time and a kind word or two, they never will notice my hair, shirt, or shoe. Let's not waste our time on the things that are wrong. Let's think of what matters, like the chance to belong to the family of humans who are walking our way, who need a connection to be valued today. The back of me's awful, I know that it's true, but the front of me's happy to be greeted by you. Let's look at each other, see only what's right. Our hearts will be open and filled with delight.
So we have 3 other writers who are not here. They're stuck in traffic. Better. So I don't really know if we want to just talk amongst ourselves, have some drinks. Jason is here and waving his hand at me. Never mind. Get up here, Jason. Everybody, big round of applause.
I didn't know if you had me back on the list.
No, you're good.
Just making sure. So, kids.
Oh, God.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Here we go.
So just a little context. This is just a small piece of my first novel that I've written that's currently in editing right now. So the general story is set at a military academy, and this is the Air Force Academy in 2002, 2003. There was a big sexual assault scandal that went on during that time, and this piece of the story, there's a male cadet. He's going into the town, so it's in Colorado Springs, but he actually takes a trip to Boulder. He's at a normal college, and so it's kind of the interaction of what the interpretation, it's fiction, but it's an interpretation of what he experienced going to a normal college during this sexual assault scandal at the academy that had made the news and that type of thing. And just briefly, River is the main character. Anna is his friend who's a lesbian that was, this is during Don't Ask, Don't Tell time period. And then Carly is the friend that they're going to visit in Boulder. So, can everybody hear me okay? All right. Anna introduced me to her friend, Carly, in Boulder. Carly was a sophomore at the University of Colorado. She and Carly played field hockey together in high school. I gave them some shit about going to a high school that would even have a field hockey team. Carly was all state, Anna said, reaching down and rubbing Carly's leg. Carly was an Anne Hathaway doppelganger if I'd ever seen one. That's some preppy girl shit right there, I said. Carly took a hit, then passed the rainbow-colored piece to Anna. They don't drug test you? Carly asked, lightly coughing. Sometimes the juice is worth the squeeze, Anna said. You always say that shit till you get caught, Anna. Let's just say I have a little insider knowledge, River, Anna said. I know the guy who controls the test at the academy. Thinks I have the hots for him. I'm not as stupid as you think. I lay back into the cushions of the couch and realized that, for a brief moment, I was experiencing normal college life. A few days earlier, we were standing on tables at the academy celebrating the fact that we'd earned the privilege to wear our backpacks on our backs, not to have to sprint to class, and not to have to sit on the front third of our chair at Mills. And just 100 miles up I-25, smoking weed on a couch was completely commonplace. You don't mind, do you, River, that we smoke? Carly asked. Not at all. It's nice to feel some semblance of normal. Carly had Sweet Home Alabama playing on her flat-screen TV. If you all want any, let me know, Carly said, pointing to a stack of burnt DVDs. My dealer also rips off any DVDs you want for $5, she said. Sounds like you've got the hookup. River, Carly said, giggling after a long hit. Say that, she said, pointing to the TV. What? I said, half asleep on the couch. She rewound the DVD a few seconds and replayed a scene where Josh Lucas was barking at Reese Witherspoon. I indulged her request. The only reason I ain't signing is because you've turned into some hoity-toity Yankee, I said with passion. Carly sat up and laughed. He's cute, ain't he? Anna said, exaggerating a southern drawl. That was perfect, Carly said. He's more than cute. Too bad, River said. Or too bad, Anna said. Too bad what? Unlike me, Carly goes both ways. But you're taken, ain't that right, River? I paused for a moment, then thought about what I had. Ending up with Amelia was hitting the lottery. That's right, but I'm glad I could be y'all's evening entertainment, I said, reaching down for the bowl. I never thought I'd see it, Anna said. You smoking weed. I'll make sure you're good though, River, trust me. I don't really give a fuck anymore, Anna. I told you I needed to clear my head. I ain't smoked this shit in like 4 years, I said. Senior week at Myrtle Beach was the last time. Got so high I cuddled up on the kitchen floor staring at the vent above the stove. Told my boys it'd be awesome to be a vent above a stove, smelling delicious foods all day. But then I started crying in sadness thinking about how awful the bathroom vent had it. Carly sat up and bent at the waist, laughing so hard she started to cry. One of those wide-mouthed, high-as-fuck laughs where it takes the jaws of life to pull your mouth closed. Anna just lay back and chuckled like a stereotypical stoner. The front door opened without a knock and 2 guys and another girl walked in. Hey, Ella, Carly said, trying to catch her breath. Y'all gotta hear his southern voice and his fan story. That was a one-time show, I said, bending and taking a bow from the couch. Oh, come on, she said, trying to hand me the piece. Live a little. Not every day you can escape that prison. The 2 guys were holding PBRs and sat down on some stools that slid underneath a bar that connected the living room to the kitchen. One had long, shaggy hair, and the other was wearing a corduroy hat. The one in the hat pulled out a plastic bag from his pocket. Can I use that when you're done? He said, pointing to the piece Carly had just handed to Ella, a thin girl with dirty blonde hair. She wore a hemp necklace and baggy pants, and she had purple waves tattooed inside her left forearm. It'll be a minute, Ella said. I smoke it till it's pure ash. What prison is this you're talking about, Carly? The Air Force Academy, Carly said. Anna and River are cadets. Ella was scraping out the used bowl with a chopstick. She placed her finger on the carb, then blew through the mouthpiece, clearing any remaining pieces from the bowl. Oh, the rape place, she said. Are you going to rape me? She said, now breaking a bud into small pieces on a glass coffee table. Funny, I said. I think I heard about that, the guy with the shaggy hair said. It's bullshit, Anna said. Nothing that doesn't happen at this place or any other college campus. Okay, Ella said, now bringing the piece to her mouth and striking her gas station lighter. She pulled the smoke through the pipe, then took a deep breath like she was about to go underwater. Aren't y'all supposed to be in uniform or something? The guy in the corduroy hat said. We don't have to do that anymore. We are recognized, Anna said, stretching out her arms, doing wide air quotes like she was revealing a banner. That's so dumb, he said. I remember the football game last year, some cadets in their little blue bus driver outfits trying to start shit with us after the game. Great story, I said, the weed the only thing keeping me relaxed. Don't you have to do push-ups when they score? The shaggy one asked. Yep. Yeah, that's right. I remember now. I didn't go to the game last year. We whooped that cadet ass down in Colorado Springs, but at least you didn't have to do many push-ups, right? The year before y'all played here, we beat you then too. I remember I'd already polished off a 12-pack of blue ribbons before Air Force scored. What a shitty beer, I said. Hey, it won a blue ribbon. That has to count for something. Touché. Anna threw her legs up on my lap. Ella took a few more hits, then offered the pipe to us both. I'm good, I said, but Anna took the piece and took 2 more pulls. Carly, you got any of that liquor with the little gold flakes down inside? Ella asked. In the freezer, Carly said, but don't drink that much unless you're going to leave some money. Ella walked to the freezer and pulled the bottle out. Anyone want a shot? I picked up my paycheck from the sink this morning. This one's on me, she said. Just pour one for everybody, Carly said. Even the goody two-shoes, Ella said, focusing in on me. She doesn't mean anything by it, River, Carly said. Yeah, I do, Ella said from the kitchen. Ella carried 6 shot glasses to us on a plastic plate. 2 of the glasses only had half a shot. I don't know how much their stomachs can handle, you know, Ella said, as she placed the 2 shot glasses in front of Anna and I. You're kind of a cunt, aren't you? Anna said. Ella ran her hands through her hair and laughed. A toast, the guy in the corduroy hat said. I learned this one a few weeks ago. To the most. What is it? It ain't for you, I said. What ain't, redneck? It's the 3rd verse of the Air Force song. It's here's a toast to the host of men we boast, the U.S. Air Force, and it remembers those that have died protecting this country. It ain't for you to say, I said. Well, all right then. Cheers to that. We all took the shot and it felt warm going down. Goldschlager, Ella said. The little gold pieces cut your throat as they go down, so it hits you faster. Going to be able to handle it there, champ? She said, looking at me. I reached into my wallet and pulled out a $20 bill. I slid it across the table to Carly. What's this for? Carly asked. I grabbed the bottle of Goldschlager, about half full, 7 or 8 shots worth inside. I brought it to my mouth and tilted it back. Here we go, Anna said as she sat back and smiled. Hey, 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 I could hear the shaggy-haired guy say. I drank it all down in about 5 seconds, then reached the bottle over and handed it to Ella. I said, Carly, I think we should probably make them go before that liquor kicks in, before he gets all rapey. Anna reached over the table and smacked Ella across the face. Ella fell back off the beanbag she was sitting on, then grabbed a pillow and chucked it at Anna. Anna started laughing hysterically. I swear to God, something's wrong with cadet girls. Ella climbed over the table and started smacking Anna on the arms. It tickles, little girl, Anna said, before putting Ella in a rear-naked choke, a choke that we'd all learned in freshman unarmed combat. The guy in the corduroy hat ran over and grabbed Ella around the waist, trying to pull her free. Stop! Stop! Just stop! Carly shouted. As Anna released her, Ella coughed a few times and massaged her own throat. You're all fucking weird, full of rapists, that school, Ella shouted. Shut the fuck up, bitch. The same shit happens here. It's just this place is for scrubs. It's a shit school for rich kids that want to be hippies but wear $50 vintage hats, like Mr. Magoo over here, I said, pointing to the guy in the corduroy hat. I forgot to add arrogant rapist, Ella shouted. Just go, Carly said. Yeah, go, Anna said to Ella. I mean you, Anna, Carly said. What? Anna said, a shock over her face. It was the first time I'd seen Anna not being funny, sexy, or playful. Yeah, you and River, just get out. I didn't even know if I should have invited you, Anna. That place it's just, you all are different. We're different now. Really, Carly? Your bimbo friend started all this, talking her shit. Anna said, just go, she shouted. I don't need this aggression in here.
Thank you, Jason. You'll have